In every record there's a story to be told. Into the world of music and more. Music and melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. And Kenny's music and more, you'll have a ball. You'll have a ball. You'll have a ball.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Many weeks in the making for this episode. Obviously, we've had a very busy summer, and then we had to cancel last week, but we are here this week. I've been running I came 400 miles today just to get here.
It was a postponement.
Yeah, it wasn't canceled.
Oh my God.
It was postponed. Mike was having some challenges last week, and I had some challenges getting here today, but we are here, and we are live, and so thanks, everybody. If you are watching, I want you to say something in the comment section. Leave us some comments right now. Say hi. Say who is your favorite artist. Tell us something, anything in this episode, and we will see what's going on with it.
We're closed.
I know, I'm looking for a cat.
We don't have a cat here.
No, I know, but.
Sorry, people, we're having an issue.
We
Somebody
have
came
a
in the store.
feline interruptus going on here.
We just went live. Mike will take it.
You remember my anti-dog cat, right?
So, yeah.
Anyway, where were we? So
The pick this week.
we got another album coming up this week. It is Miami Vice. We have to make sure we lock the door next week. Clint, tell us about your pick here.
Okay, my pick here was not entirely, I would say, popular, but that's okay because I am a kid of the 80s. This is my first time picking an album for this group, and I wanted to come out with a real bang, and you can take that as good or bad. But the Miami Vice soundtrack is not just about the music that's on it, it's about Miami Vice kind of as a phenomenon. And so I hit my teens in the early 80s, and I'm the new wave guy around here. And the Miami Vice soundtrack actually was kind of a launching pad in a number of ways because Miami Vice itself was a cultural phenomenon. How many of us are here were old enough to actually know that?
Oh, yeah.
You are, yeah. So we did have a little bit of a conversation about Miami Vice really was an incredibly influential TV show. Not to get too off track off of the album, but they kind of go hand in hand. Glenn Frey, Phil Collins, Tina Turner, those were kind of some big hitters. And I recently went back and watched the pilot of Miami Vice, which I own on Blu-ray, of course. Right off the bat, they open up with a Rolling Stones song. We talked about that last week. It was, remember?
It was from,
Miss You.
yeah, Miss You is from Some Girls. Yep.
TV shows prior to this did not use real music. They used cover bands, obviously, usually poor quality cover bands, but from its very first beat, Miami Vice used actual artists singing actual songs, used actual original tracks. In fact, I don't know if you really had a whole lot of TV series that had their own soundtrack come out. So, obviously, tracks on here like, Shaka Khan and Grandmaster Mel Mel kind of went over like a lead balloon. But I was trying to figure out again where Glenn Frey was in his solo career when this came out, because after this, he was kind of a big deal. But this album came out after he had The Heat Is On. Mm-hmm. So that was Beverly Hills Cop 1, right? Mm-hmm. So, and same with Tina Turner. I'm trying to remember where she was at, but she had two big hits on Miami Vice. Did you find the cat?
Did you? I don't know what I found. But I think we set the right man.
Yeah.
This is stories we need to save till after the show.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. The after party will debrief on whatever randos.
Did you lock the door?
Door is locked.
All right, thank you.
At least we know what the yelling was.
Yeah. At least it wasn't a murder like we
Yeah.
suspected. So.
There was
We're
quite
worried
the,
there might be a murder. We're here yelling outside.
Yeah, we had a
before the
pre-show show coming through the exterior wall here. So
And let me also add to your information on the soundtrack. If you didn't know, this actually spent 11 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Top 200.
The
That might
soundtrack
be.
did?
Yeah.
Yep. That might be the only actual validation I get out of this pick. Well, the actual.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's, the charts are all manipulated.
well, the original Miami Vice theme.
Before SoundScan.
That one actually did well on the top 40 countdown.
Oh, we're talking about Miami Vice soundtrack.
What were you talking about?
Oh, I forgot we listened to it.
He's so taken aback by the cat.
So, public service announcement: if you're down in the area of Lockheed Drive and you find an errant kitty,
Yeah.
someone may be looking for it.
We
It's a
listened-
Garfield-looking cat. That's what I know about it.
They all look like Garfield.
We listened to this. This
So-
is what you missed.
Did we give our?
Not yet,
No. All right. Well.
but you can start.
Well, this this represents everything that went wrong with the '80s
Oh,
music.
excellent. Okay, good. Hit me.
With your best shot.
Well, it all, it's basically a snapshot of that entire of what music became at that time, and I think this weighs, really heavily on a specific sound and
It does.
the.
You think it contributed?
I think it was probably a peak of the synth sound and kind of, I won't say lifeless stuff, but it was all just I don't know.
Jan Hammer wasn't stereotypical synth, though. He did kind of have his
And
own,
it's
his
even
own thing.
it shows. So you got Glenn Fry in here, Phil Collins. So this is kind of shows what a lot of those '70s artists, they all really became in the '80s. They leaned really hard on that sound production. It's almost a 180 from what Fleetwood Mac did. The same thing. Heart, it's what they
Most
could
of
do.
them did, yeah.
What they could do to be relevant at that time, because that's what was popular.
Would you say the 80s music in the 80s kind of paralleled the development of the automobile in the 80s?
Probably
A lot of real
a lot of it.
turnbuckets.
It paralleled Kenny Stereo here. And I'm not dogging the stereo. It's cool, but it's definitely a product of its time, and you can look at this and see what that's most definitely
We got to tell them what this is now.
an
So
80s.
they don't know what we listen to. We
Stereo.
actually have fights about this because they want me to get a type of system that they like, and I just love the B&O. It's the vintage 80s. It's I've got them pieced the whole thing together. I would like to get some bigger tower speakers for that. We're working on it, but it's Bang & Olufsen, which is a brand that many people like, but not them.
I don't
Well,
know,
I'm not saying
not
anything
bad.
negative. It's most definitely it looks like it should be in
Miami Vice.
Miami Vice. The Council of Kit from Knight Rider.
It was it was in Crockett's house, I think. This system.
form over function.
The 80s were.
A lot of technological advances. You're right. The way that some of the trays slide open and up. Right. It's kind of like that same
The
mid
album-
80s car.
The album itself,
Fiat.
we talked about it. It's probably how all copies of this, but it's a pretty flat sounding album. There's not much,
Agreed.
it doesn't sound great.
So I won this album on Y93 FM. I won everything that they gave away except the car. I won
think
concert tickets.
I think the story's cooler than the album, but
Yeah. So this is actually a radio promo. It's got the MCA stamp, the promo on the back, the little gold stamp. And this is actually because I haven't owned a turntable in a long time. To the best of my recollection, tonight was the first time this album has actually been played. So, and it probably won't be played again, at least not by me. I don't own a
Well,
turntable.
that actually leads me to our tip of the month. I'd love to give a tip of the month, and since you dropped
When
that
did we
little
start that?
tidbit, I will add it.
This month.
we started that.
Sorry.
We
You
did
have been
First
following
monthly
Kenny's
tip
tip of the month.
I always throw
It's
tips in
Kenny's
there.
tip of the
favorite
month.
steak.
Go, Kenny.
We need a
we didn't
jingle
even
for
talk
that.
about it.
I just
I
sometimes
hope this is a legitimate tip and not something you're just making up that isn't real.
I'm always trying to teach people about records. I mention that every month. And so one of the things with this is they said it's a promo. So now that's going to lead me into a little deep dive on that too, because I've learned a lot actually from promos just from Brad, because Brad also is a radio DJ. And so what Clint just said is on the back there, it says promotional item. And so and a lot of times it'll say on loan for a promotional. And so technically they're supposed to be able to give that back if need be. Did they ever call that back on that?
I don't know if they ever did that.
No, I don't think they.
And it
ever
says
did.
not for sale. You're not technically back when they were supposed to sell it.
They didn't want the DJs putting them all in a box and then taking them out on the street and selling them
Okay.
Yep.
and making money. They were meant for airplay,
Okay.
and that was the whole idea. And it's good to note this, by the mid 80s, sometimes late 80s, a lot of the companies had actually moved away from a promotional label.
Okay.
So if you look at this record,
Just a gold stamp.
Clint had the label up there. It's a stock copy label, but the jacket is stamped promo.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
what they-
became kind of the rule, and they didn't actually have promo labels. But as you know, back into the 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of companies would use a unique label for that, and a lot of collectors will like to have that of their favorite artists. So.
Part of them, there's a certain collectability on promos. Just if people are collecting, some people collect promos. Some people, a lot of people have niches that they collect.
Yeah.
If you collect a certain artist and you want multiple variants, you might look for a promo. But there may be some legitimacy to this or not, but one of the things that draws people to them is since it's a promo, it's an earlier copy.
Yes,
it
earlier
might be an earlier
That's
pressing
exactly
off
right.
the stamper, so it may sound better.
I-
If that's true, it's probably pretty. You'd have to have some pretty damn good ears to hear a lot of the differences, but
But at least you're insured though of an early copy, nonetheless.
In the CD world, and I have hundreds of CD promos from my time in radio, but what they would do, which you really can't do feasibly with an LP, is they would pop the jewel case open and put a hole punch through the QR code. Or I have some that are actually screened, like they didn't have any inserts in the jewel case. It was just a CD, and it was screened on the label of the CD on the face that it was a promo. This happens to have. See if I can. I don't have to worry about skipping that silly B&O turntable. If we
See
can
that
get
the other way.
Other way. Yeah, there we go. See right over the top of the barcode, we have the gold label says ownership reserved by MCA. So,
Sale is unlawful.
Yep. Well, I
Can
don't
we sell
see
it now?
people lining up.
sold.
But it was given to him, so it was completely
Yeah,
legal.
I think the radio stations probably had some. I think it was the sale that was probably, like Brad said, off limits, but promotional giveaways probably was
sure.
just fine.
And so what I would say as the retailer of the albums, and what I've noticed a lot of times in the record world is when I'm looking up albums, oftentimes if no album has sold on a particular copy, I might oftentimes see a promo copy of it sold. So it's like the only sold version. So the album wasn't very popular, but somebody did venture out to get the promo. Or on the other ends, we might see somewhere upwards of 20 up to 25% variation in price. So if that album was to sell for 10, it might sell for $12.50. So you can get a couple bucks more on that $10 album. So you might see, as Mike mentioned earlier, you might see a slight variation in sale price for that promo, but typically it's not more than up to 25%.
Well, and as we've talked about this before, I think a lot of that plays into there's got to be desirability for the album
Yes.
itself.
Yep.
You could have a promo for something that nobody bought, and nobody heard of to begin with, and it's that doesn't make a promo any more desirable.
I have a lot of promo CDs I threw out and just kept the jewel case. Spares. This particular soundtrack actually was produced by Danny Goldberg and Michael Mann. And Michael Mann, when it comes to Miami Vice, he had some favorite artists. We've got Phil Collins on here. He used a ton of Phil Collins. He used multiple tracks I believe by Glenn Fry. He had Smuggler's Blues and You
Glenn
Belong
Fry
to the
was
City.
actually
Twice.
in the show.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah,
the
he was actually
pictures
in the show.
One thing, and I may be wrong on, but I think unique to Miami Vice, not that I'm Miami Vice, but this is one thing I will say. I think that was one of the first shows they were using popular songs in the show.
That's what he
We were talking about that while you were with the cat
With
lady.
that, you talking about the cat lady? But yeah, they weren't just using
I
stock.
was like, did he not hear that? You're right. He was down there.
They were using stock.
Well, the one episode of Miami Vice was based on the song Smuggler's Blues because Smuggler's Blues came out before the TV show, obviously.
And then Phil Collins, he played Phil the Shill. He played a con artist.
Comment.
So, and that's why, Miami Vice did get to be its own cultural phenom. There was actually, if you were really big, I think Madonna was one. I can't remember who else, but NBC made bank on that by saying at the end of the Miami Vice episode, they would shorten it a little bit and they would premiere music videos
Yep.
by the Madonnas and I don't know who else, like a U2 or a Def Leppard or somebody, at the end of a Miami Vice episode. And so everybody had to not only tune in to Miami Vice, which was the biggest show at the time, but you got the payoff of you would get the very first world premiere of some of these music videos at the end of this.
Oh, nice.
And that's indicative of how that show was. Now, you want to talk good soundtrack, and I don't disagree. I think this soundtrack is kind of weak. I agree with Mike. But Miami Vice as a whole used some incredible music. But look at John Hughes. John Hughes' music choices were nothing short of brilliant back in the 80s. Well, Michael Mann was really involved in the music choices here. He used Yellow a lot, which of course I'm a big fan of Yellow. Used a lot of Phil Collins, that sort of thing. And Miami Vice had a very distinct tone to it, and it actually shaped, Brad was mentioned before we went live, it shaped fashion, it shaped architecture, everything. I mean, the broad influence that Miami Vice actually had is actually ridiculous and disproportionate for a TV show. Really.
Well, when I think of some of the automobiles, the one that I mentioned it earlier, I think of that little Fiat. That little, what is that little, like, it's a cheaper sports car, I think. I see the little red ones, but I thought it was a Fiat, maybe. See, they can't even remember what the vehicles were, but it's a little tiny sports car. Was kind of didn't cost a lot of money.
Fiero?
Fiero,
Fiero.
that's what I'm thinking about.
Well,
Yeah, you're right.
1985. I obviously
Thanks, I was wrong.
I am the 80s guy here. 1985 is about the time where it all went sour, and Mike was spot on. It was overproduced. It was just like the cars of the time, bland and underpowered. It really was. And so, yeah, this is kind of indicative of a turn that way. Everything with the same stupid drum machine and the same stupid Yamaha DX7 synth in the background.
But it doesn't. That mentality doesn't stop with just Miami Vice and
I don't know if they can see it.
the pop music
Nope.
that's on. I mean, rock music, they all follow the same tropes. Country music would follow, and
Steel guitar.
They do that. I mean, from
Sax.
generation to generation.
Well, but this also, Miami Vice is indicative of an inflection point of all of these different areas of culture intersecting. Because you did the fashion of Miami Vice, the music of Miami Vice, the cars, because you had the Ferrari Daytona and then the Testarossa and that sort of thing. That all did kind of come together right at that point, and it all, it was kind of a package deal. And that affected television moving forward and kind of music along with it. At least the pop music, the stuff that you're served by your television, which I don't think any of us here are huge fans of.
I think it seems like to me the MTV thing was really at the height of its thing.
Yep.
It seemed like at that point, maybe I'm off there a little bit, but it just seemed like they were at the same juncture that you're talking about. I'll say that the pick of the litter on the album, I think, is "You Belong to the City" by Glenn Fry, and it has a certain vibe, and I know why they chose that song. It fits in with what's going on there. But it made me want to. it made, after hearing the album, it made me want to hear other 80s songs, a few other ones, like Broken Wings by Mr. Mister.
Take
I wanted to hear that.
Sing.
And I also wanted to hear Silent Runnings by Mike and the Mechanics, because that has such an iconic 80s feel to it too, mainstream music. And it just made me want to, maybe I want to listen to that right now.
some of these synth-based songs.
The extended lost tracks of Miami Vice, but
Well, I remember being 12, 13 years old, and we literally, so let's start a band. Who wants to be the synthesizer? I had no clue. I never would have ever known, but we all knew that the synthesizer was a heart to a lot of these songs, right?
yeah.
And the Roland TR-808, of course. That,
I wouldn't even been able to tell you what kind of they were. We just knew the synthesizer.
well, I think the small block Chevy of keyboards at that time was the DX7. Wasn't it?
Yamaha DX7,
Yep.
big.
So, but yeah, I mean, you're coming off a new wave, which is my big thing. I love the new wave 80s because that's a time when things were really inventive and creative and that sort of thing, and you got really corporatized and just kind of awful by 1985. That's when this album came out. This has the unique distinction among soundtracks in that every song on this album, for better or for worse, actually appears within season 1 or 2 of Miami Vice, which had a 5-season run. So many soundtracks for movies are littered with tracks that have nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. In fact, Adam Reeder, I was watching one of his videos yesterday, and he was talking about 2 of the best tracks that were supposed to be on Journey's Frontiers album ended up on 2 movie soundtracks. Like Only the Young ended up on the Vision Quest soundtrack, where that did okay. And then, what was the other one? Oh, Ask the Lonely ended up on some silly rom-com or something like that that went nowhere. So that song was almost effectively buried by being taken off of Frontiers and put on a soundtrack of a movie it probably had nothing to do with. So at least, there's some, if you want to call it integrity or whatever, that everything on this soundtrack actually appears in the show.
Well, I will tell you, though, too, as a seller of music, that some soundtrack albums are very popular and have sold a lot of money here in the store, and for me at the antique mall over the years. And so soundtracks as a genre, right, can be a lucrative business. And so I can't remember selling many of the Miami Vices, but I've sold tons. I've probably sold at least 10 to 15 Grease soundtracks, Saturday Night Live soundtrack.
Or Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday Night Fever. I think that's what I meant. That's twice now I messed up. You got me twice, Mike.
Keep going.
It ain't over yet.
It ain't over yet. Third time will be a charm.
I think you get a free mug.
Elvis
You're
mug.
picked from the hat bin downstairs.
Or an Elvis mug.
Uh-huh.
23 minutes.
The other song,
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
the other song it made me think of too is that I wanted to go back and listen to maybe is the Fix, that Red Skies.
Red Skies at Night.
Yeah, that made me want to hear that too. So anyway, it
mean-
definitely is a timepiece. 1985.
Makes
you
you
know?
nostalgic.
Well, from somebody that wasn't in it. Let's see what did Lance
Yeah,
think.
Lance.
I don't know. I don't have much to
Since you were
say.
born like 10 years ago.
He's the baby.
It's definitely 80s. I mean, you listen to it and you can tell it's 80s. Even not having lived in the 80s, I can listen to that and tell it's 80s. I don't dislike it. I'm not a huge soundtrack guy. I mean, I don't think I'll go
One
as
thing
far
I-
as to add it to my collection, but I didn't hate it as much as Mike, I don't think.
One thing I'll say about 80s as it pertains to modern times, I've listened to some of the newer, like Chappell Roans and Sabrina Carpenter's, and you listen to some of that stuff, and it sounds very 80s, pop.
I think we talked about that a little bit before, didn't we? What was that Baroque? That whole Baroque pop.
Yeah.
That stuff is cyclical. In the alternative stuff, it's definitely the things that I was listening to in 1989, literally at the end of the 80s, in the alternative realm, translates directly to what you hear in the alternative scene now. It's just at the time, we had one country station, one rockish station, and one top 40 station here. Most of that stuff nobody around here ever heard. But yeah, things definitely take a turn south on around 85. One of the things about the show itself, I remember there was a point where, oh gosh, it's just so cringe. But in the show, you know, Don Johnson, Sonny Crockett's like, Rod Stewart was right. Some guys do have all the luck, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, whoever had to write that and put it in the script probably went home and threw up. But,
I don't know, but as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking, isn't there something in the air here tonight?
oh, gee whiz. Yeah, well, you know, there's
Yeah.
Cat, yeah.
the cat's in the air. Well, we did get to watch you air drum to that when we previewed the album. So
Yeah, Kenny. This
And it
song.
should have been like this.
Just bet you can't guess
Yeah.
what my favorite part of this song is, and it's like.
was that the
It's
song
like
where Phil
everybody's-
Collins?
Everybody loves that drum
was
beat.
was that the first time they did the gated reverb that way on the drums?
Yes.
It was on this
Yep.
song, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And yep, and we're still paying for it.
That was my favorite song on the album is "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the show was different in that it was darker and more violent in a lot of ways than a lot of other TV shows were. Airwolf was another one of those. I keep bringing that up. That was another one that was actually had dark themes and violence, and it wasn't all A-teamish in that, you know, the bad guys always walk away and that sort of stuff. Good guys don't always win. That kind of stuff. It was
Well, for me,
it was a thing.
it was a totally different direction in the '80s. You know, I was Facts of Life, Different Strokes,
Yep.
What's Happening, probably reruns from the '70s.
You like Tootie. You were a Tootie fan.
Kim Fields.
So those are the shows where
Did
that
you
were.
have posters of Tootie?
I didn't have any posters of them. The only posters I ever had in my room weren't until I was 15 and 16 years old, and it was
Christy Brinkley.
Ricky Rocket, Brett Michaels, C.C. DeVille, Poison.
Look what the cat dragged in, I suppose would have been about that.
Yeah, you're right about that time. Now, we didn't get anything from Josh on this album yet.
He's being too
He's
kind.
biting his tongue.
He's been biting his tongue over there.
No, I don't know. I don't have. It is what it is. I don't have any problem with this soundtrack. It's too instrumental. I think that's kind of the problem with it. But otherwise, it leans hard on other songs. So it brings back what you said earlier about the show starts with a Rolling Stones song. They leaned into knowing that the music was going to be part of what sold the show.
Oh.
So, if you make the music, if you use popular music in a show, you're going to gain a bigger, wider audience. So that's why they use like Smuggler's Blues, which had been released before. In the Air Tonight was released before. You Better Be Good to Me. Those songs had all been released
The
already.
Tina Turner one we didn't talk about.
Yep. Better Be Good to Me had been released on Private Dancer the year before. So, You Belong to the City, Glenn Frey wrote specifically for the show. So, there we go. We've talked about all the good songs on the album.
Yeah, Jan Hammer was
Rest are instrumental.
well. Jan Hammer was
And a
I-
rap song and
Oh.
Chaka
yeah,
Khan.
there
Oh,
was-
a cringe rap song that literally all of us were like.
Now we should be
Can this
realistic. We should be realistic. There are a lot of good Chaka Khan songs. She's got
not this one.
incredible discography. This song was very 80s Chaka Khan and it was not good at all.
And I'll circle back to they all became, Glenn Frey in the 80s was completely different. But Glenn Frey is
yeah.
one of my favorite singers, so I'm not
Absolutely.
dogging Glenn Frey because I love Glenn Frey, but that's I guess what they had to do to stay relevant because in 1985 he wasn't going to be up there singing New Kid in Town or Tequila Sunrise.
Right.
But he was singing The Heat Is On, which
He
is a
was
better
singing
song.
The Heat Is
Yeah.
On.
Well, the thing is that just goes
Party
back
Town.
but that goes back to what this show is. They made the decision that, you know what, heck with budgets, which let's face it is why you put a cover band in your TV show.
Right.
They're like, nope, heck with it. We are going to put the actual artist in here because when you're watching a TV show and you go, holy cow, that's the Rolling Stones. That actually, in 1985, that's a huge deal. Now it's not. Like, one of my favorite TV shows in the history of the world, Person of Interest, I was just watching another episode of that, and they had Johnny Cash hurt. I was like, that is freaking legit. You would not have seen that prior to a Miami Vice, that they would actually use a Johnny Cash song in an
But
episode, knowing what that's going to cost.
That benefited something like that, a popular show. Benefited all parties involved.
That's why I'm saying it all came together. It was the synergy of pop culture.
Having Glenn Frey, sure, it cost the production company more money to put a Glenn Frey song in, but that benefited Glenn Frey too.
It added to the legitimacy of the show too.
It added to that, and it added to his album sales and his ticket sales.
Well, because even though, I've mentioned before in a number of ways, the ear understands what it hears, even if you don't consciously get it. And if you're watching, we were talking about Knight Rider before this started. Knight Rider used all cover songs. And that would have given the show a greater legitimacy if they would have used the actual track. But when you hear a familiar song and it's like, oh, it's just some rando doing it to save money. Well, that does something to your perception of the production in which you hear that cover track.
A show like Knight Rider is kind of, as I said about the Dukes of Hazzard, every episode was basically the exact same.
Well, they're
just,
TV.
they just kind of changed the characters' names a little bit.
But also on a lot of the shows, so if we get back into that kind of idea, right? The jingles were made jingles for the show. Here's the story
No,
of a man named
you
Brady.
can't sing that much.
Yeah, demonetized.
But what I'm saying though, right up to that point, like a lot of times, right, the jingles are custom made, and so if we take what you're saying, and I like what Josh just said too, if we take that idea and we say, okay, we're going to make a show and we're going to use the music to sell the show. I love that idea. What other shows can you think of? The one that came to my mind is Melrose Place. Early 90s.
The Partridge Family.
The Monkees.
The Monkees.
They were a huge
All of them.
influence
I
on
mean,
the
by the
Beatles.
90s, you had shows, all those teen dramas that started out like Dawson's Creek and all those.
Dawson's,
things.
yes.
They were full of popular music at the time. Or what?
I Don't Want to Wait.
What would become hit songs were debuted on there. So
Paula Cole.
We went from using cover bands to perform songs for shows to using the real artists to realizing that neither one didn't work well, which it did. Cover bands got people to go find out what the real song was, or they'd go, oh, that song's done by this person, and you go and find it, and it was like, this doesn't sound anything like the TV show. But so most of us didn't even know they were covers at that time. But then you went to using Glenn Frey's, and those people become too expensive. So then they literally went out into the scenes and found up-and-coming bands and used them. And the band signed on to do it for shows, movies, all kinds of stuff, because it gave them, they got nothing, but they got free publicity. So all of a sudden their names are out there. So if you start going especially into the 90s, you start seeing soundtracks that had very obscure artists at the time. And if you look back now, a lot of those bands or artists would have become somewhat famous or popular by now. So,
okay, so how do I say this to protect Mike, what he was saying about us? But I can still remember from that Melrose Place that we were talking about, the one that, How Do You Talk to an Angel, right?
Well, you can say the song name, but you just can't sit here and sing it.
How do you hold her close to where you are?
That wasn't.
Remember that?
That actually wasn't. That was a show about a fictional band.
That was a spin-off of Melrose.
That was a song
okay.
Big song by the fictional band.
right. But look at, Friends. Friends is another one that
The Rembrandts.
Rembrandts were just a local band. They weren't insanely popular, and all of a sudden everybody knew the Rembrandts. So.
Well, there are a number of TV themes over the years that have done well on the top 40. So the Miami Vice theme did hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S. And I think you might have pointed out that the album itself was on the chart for 11 weeks straight. So
That's how bad.
Well, that was just #1. It would have been on the charts for a lot longer, but it was
What
at
else
#1
was
for
out in
11
1985 that would have stayed at the top of the charts for 11 weeks?
This was pretty much this and Huey Lewis, I think.
Huey Lewis would have been better.
What a great soundtrack there for the movie.
Yeah,
Come
there
on.
you go.
What's in 1985? That's got to be Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Yep.
Right?
Back in Time.
Huey Lewis.
Yep.
Power of Love.
Power of Love. Yep. The story behind the recording of Power of Love was pretty cool too. But yeah, no, I picked this not because I particularly like this soundtrack, but of what it represents. Like Mike said, this represents a lot. Some good, some bad. But somebody had to kick open the door of actually spending the budget to put legitimate original artist tracks in into the show, and prominently. And before long, they were working hand in hand. And both music and movies are changed because of this album. Jan Hammer, I happen to like his music. It was tedious listening to it on this soundtrack. You're either in a Jan Hammer mood or you're not. And he's got his very own feel and his own style. I liked the stuff he did with Neil Schon from Journey as well. But yeah, you should either have a soundtrack or a score.
Yeah,
not
these.
both.
But those, in his defense, though, those songs are very specifically written for Miami Vice. The show.
Yeah, and these are very specific to very popular
Right.
popular episodes.
Right.
You know, Evan was a huge episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, Jan Hammer, out of this, from doing the score to this, achieved popularity as a pop musician. He's not a stereotypical synth guy. He had his own feel, and he infused a lot of things for the Miami feel, which was completely fabricated for and by this program. So having him on here in a way is kind of its own thing, because he became a known musician out of this. But yeah, trying to put those tracks, instrumental tracks, on here with the likes of Glenn Frey, Phil Collins, and
Okay.
Tina Turner. That's
I'm gonna move it on real quick, and we got a couple other segments that we're gonna do right after this. But let
I
me
didn't
just
think we were
say,
going to have anything to say about this album.
but let me just say real quick. Let me ask you all a question. So, as a general genre, I'm sure we can all find one soundtrack that you absolutely love. So maybe you can come into the store and check out one of these soundtracks. For me, I've said it once, and I'll say it 1,000 times, or even 1,000,000 if I live long enough to say it. Eddie and the Cruisers, love the soundtrack. And I love when people come in here and they'll see that and they'll go, "Oh, Eddie and the Cruisers." I'm like, and I'll go, thank you. I've said that for years. Can you think of a soundtrack, Lance?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, yes,
Forrest
I got it.
Banger. Like, I grew up, parents had that one on CD. Like, just every song on that is just great. I still
Agree 100%.
Good Morning
I'll give
Vietnam,
it some-
bought it here.
Oh, Good Morning Vietnam, great soundtrack. Brad?
I don't have one. Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
But it made me think of one other thing. And I think it falls in line with what Clint was saying, if I can just add this in. In 73, in the early 70s, had a 50s revival going on. And American Graffiti came out with this double album.
That sounds
and it
right.
had all of... Now, that's a movie, though. That's not television. But what spun off of that was Happy Days.
Right.
And Happy Days never used original stuff, except for that the opening song, which is a Bill Haley, "Rock Around
They
the
only
Clock."
use that for a short period of time.
Right, and then they had their own one made up, and they actually sold.
Demonetized.
Yeah. So, but
Probably just
you'd
cost
always
us
hear
$500
these little
million.
'50s things
Yeah.
going on in the show, and they never used original stuff. It was always some knockoff band doing, and you go, "Well, I know that song, but that's
Was
not
that
the
Susie
original."
Quattro in there?
Yeah, that she was in later. She was brought in later, and then she had that kind of revived her
Pinky
career.
Tuscadero?
Yeah, she kind of revived her career too, because she was very much in the rock punk thing a little bit there, Detroit sound, with those first couple of albums, and then she kind of faded out and came back with the song Gold. I think she, or what was that? Yeah, I missed the Stumbling In. Stumbling In was Susie Quattro and I think Jon Stewart or somebody. So anyway, yeah, so my point is they didn't use it in Happy Days. How much more effective that might have been, or enjoyable.
Right.
Just saying.
Sure, because it would anchor this period show in the period.
Yeah.
By calling up familiar musical memories.
Other favorite soundtracks?
Mike?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, that's a
see, there
great
you go.
one.
Yep. Heavy metal.
Heavy Metal is a really good soundtrack.
Oh
too,
yes,
by the
I've
way.
sold a few copies of that.
Back to the Future would probably be the one, but that I would pick. But the influential one, the one that is actually awful, that actually has more influence on me, is the Lost Boys soundtrack.
Oh, such a good soundtrack.
I've
I
got
like
some
that.
copies of that. You want it?
I do.
Okay,
need
I'll
a
get it
copy
for you.
of
What do you not like? Echo and the Bunnymen's rendition of "People Are Strange"? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that. That could turn some
And
people off.
the saxophone guy, what was his name?
Tim Capello.
Tim, there you go.
That song "I Still Believe" from the Lost
Yeah.
Boys soundtrack came up in my shuffle when I was laying in bed last night, stressing my earbuds.
It's October, so I watch the Lost Boys every October.
That the theater started on fire when I was watching that in college.
Nice.
That was
Tim
that was
Capella. I love his brother.
Yeah, well, so
You're so
being a
dumb.
guy of the '80s and a John Hughes fan, John Hughes used to make mixtapes of his own for his actors, for like the Molly Ringwalds and those. And he has there's a multi-disc set called "Life Moves Pretty Fast," which is a quote from Ferris Bueller. And it's like 3 or 4 discs, and that is like the compendium of all of the coolest tracks from John Hughes movies. But if you want to go Gen X, I would say the Grosse Pointe Blank soundtrack, which I bought here. And that's got Violent Femmes. I'm blanking on the rest of the soundtrack, but it's a good soundtrack.
I think another good soundtrack mention is Detroit Rock.
What did I do?
No, it's him.
Oh,
Acapella.
oh, yeah. Hey, you know, if you want to hear really bad dad jokes, just come down and talk to Eric during business hours, and they're nowhere near as good as
What
acapella.
were you guys saying?
Detroit Rock City. Another good soundtrack.
yes.
That one, I
Very
think
good
I
one.
mentioned it on one of the other episodes too, but I had that one on cassette growing up. And,
That's got
yeah, just had some
Pantera
good
doing
ones.
Cat Scratch
Catch
Fever.
Yep.
It's got the Donnas in it.
Yep.
Nobody's going to have the slightest clue when I say the Hackers soundtrack, which I got here. Thank you, Kenny, on cassette, which is pretty cool. But if you were into 90s rave and that, well, not so much rave, but house and that kind of stuff, that's a
The
fantastic.
Crow soundtrack is another
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
really good
The Crow.
soundtrack.
The Beverly Hills Cop 2 soundtrack is really good.
Oh, you know, some of these now, like too, those soundtracks are so big that I don't think I can even literally think of some of the songs without associating it to the movie now, especially with Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah.
I can think of the movie like the minute they go into the to the jungle,
And I
different
suppose
parts.
I suppose in a lot of ways it's probably a cash grab when you want to sell a soundtrack to a movie and boost the movie profits by taking a killer track by a known artist that might not have even been in the movie, but put it only on the soundtrack. So now you got to go buy the movie
Sell it,
soundtrack because you want your favorite Journey song. So
Well, let's go into our records. So downstairs, we also have a lot of records up on the wall. Some of them sell as well, and I will start with mine. So we each pick out a record, and I was thinking about doing this one for 2 weeks in a row. It is "We Are the World." Now, the reason why I chose this isn't a great album, okay, by any means, but it was a part of my childhood, and so part of my childhood is tied up into this moment when a whole bunch of stars, and I watched this video on MTV, as we talked about earlier today, over and over and over again, and I can still hear many of their voices. I go, oh, that's Cyndi Lauper. Oh, that's Ray Charles. I can pick out the people, Bruce Springsteen. All of these people came together to do this fundraiser, right, for Africa. There was a lot of famine that was going on at that time, and so they did this huge fundraiser, and so all of these big stars get together, and they do this song called "We Are the World." Didn't hit it, did it? And anyway, and "We Are the Children." And so they actually did a whole album to it too. So they added other songs with that, and so this is one of my favorite songs and albums from the 80s.
well, one thing about your pick of that album emboldened me to do something so audacious as to grab this.
That's why you did that.
We do have a chat before we move on. Actually, let's come back to that.
Okay.
I thought we have some questions in the chat, so we can get back.
Oh yes, let's.
Oh, question.
We'll come back.
All right. I picked a Fleetwood Mac album. Big shocker. Yeah, I know, right? I did Mystery to Me. I saw this in the racks after we got done doing the last episode, and I knew I had to put it out there. I really like this one. This is like your Bob Welch era Fleetwood Mac. It's just it's really cool. This is like their 8th studio album, so it's in 2 more albums is when Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks are going to join the band. But like Emerald Eyes and Hypnotized, 2 of my favorite tracks on here. Just very like chill, bluesy. Christine McVie's on this one, so I mean, you'll recognize her voice on the tracks. But yeah, check it out if you are interested in Fleetwood Mac. It's one of my favorites pre Buckingham and Nicks. So.
Definitely cleansed the palate tonight.
I've got probably the most popular Roxy Music album as far as sales go, and like Clint has a import jacket up there. That's really cool. There are 2 Roxy Musics. There's the 1971 to 1976 Roxy Music. That's the early years. The later years lean more into the Brian Ferry world of sound. Avalon and Manifesto and Flesh and Blood, those records. This is an early 80s release, so it kind of fits into the vibe tonight. And probably their most accessible release. But I still like what they were doing, even though they shifted away from their original sound. And great entry point for Roxy Music if you just want to, get to know the band a little bit. And they had some really good songs on here. Avalon, great cover too.
The cover reminds me of kind of a cross between like a Christoph Berg "Don't Pay the Ferryman" and a Saga on the Loose kind of thing. I don't know if that was a theme in the '80s. The single "More Than This" got a ton of MTV
and that is
airplay.
Right, and that is on here, and that they benefited from that airplay. They kind of had more of a name, but if you mention like the first or second album, people don't know those songs because they were more underground. And
what was their sound like prior to this?
a little bit more, not as polished, not as slick. This sounds a little bit more slick and produced.
Mm-hmm.
The other stuff sounded a little bit more rock oriented.
Ooh.
And even the first 2 albums might even be more experimental in a way, with Brian Eno in those 2 albums before he left.
Brian Ferry did one of those soundtrack songs I was talking about, "Is Your Love Strong Enough," which only appeared on the soundtrack to the Tom Cruise movie Legend.
Yeah.
There you go. Tying it all together.
Yep.
Michael.
I picked probably
What?
the best. This is probably the best album Elvis ever recorded. It's 50 years, 50 hits, and I can't imagine being in the studio when he recorded this album. It might not make sense at 50 years and 50 hits. You think Elvis didn't even live to be 50.
He died at 42?
And at the time this album came out, his career wasn't 50 years old. So what, but it doesn't have to make sense because Elvis transcends time and space.
That's right.
So,
What's your favorite track?
He is in a mood today,
my favorite
people.
track, probably.
Don't play
Let's
this.
see.
Is it the one that he wrote?
It's the one. Yeah, it's the classic. He painstakingly wrote this over 2 months. Kissing Cousins.
That was Jerry Lee Lewis.
Some people write from the heart, and some people write from personal experiences, and that's what Elvis did on that track. And it was just.
I got a gal. She's as cute as she can be. She's a distant cousin, but she's not too distant to me.
Okay,
That's a weird lyric.
Before Kenny kills you. April Wine.
Now we're talking.
Nature of the Beast. This one, I was not aware of until I was well into high school, and I grew up going to Music Hut in Dickinson. My aunt was friends with the owners. I went to school with them. I hung out there a lot. The guys that worked in the tech shop, I'd go in there after school to hang out and talk car stereos and music and stuff, and Mitch was always playing this record. And it's just a really good record. I've always enjoyed this I was like, well, who is this? April Wine. Never heard of April Wine before. Started listening to him and this was my favorite record of theirs. Just Between You and Me is the hit song. I had heard that, of course, before. I just never knew it was April Wine, and the I probably heard that in the mid 80s somewhere, because this came out quite earlier than that. And I was very much anti-ballad music at that time, so I would have not paid much attention to it. But by 91, I'd come around and listened to Nature of the Beast by April Wine.
And I believe they came to Bismarck on the tour for that album.
Yes, they did.
Was that with Sammy?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
There we go.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sound having troubles just breathing.
And Clint's pick?
It was Miami Vice.
No, your other one.
For the
That
week.
was-
Oh,
your-
yeah, that one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
ZZ Top Afterburner. So I was just the right age, so it's funny because what happens is a lot of times you find out about a band when you hit your adolescence and you start really paying attention to music. And even though I started listening to music when I was in like first or second grade, I had a console stereo in my bedroom, and I would listen to rock album FM even as a little kid. It didn't register to me who the bands were. I just knew the songs. So my introduction to ZZ Top was actually Eliminator, and then along comes Afterburner, and you want to talk about a polished and produced album. Oh my goodness.
That album,
But this just freaking
that
rocks.
album, Eliminator, and Recycler from ZZ Top,
Mhm.
play into what I was talking about earlier, how those 70s bands
Yep.
really changed up their sound
Oh yeah.
in the 80s,
Yep.
and it paid off big time for ZZ Top. I mean, they started.
Well, I dare say
And
they did it
massive.
tastefully.
They
pulled
did
it
it in a way that they were able to pull it off
Yeah.
and
Not lose their sound.
lose their sound and what they.
Yeah, you wouldn't listen to this album and get the feel of some guys, playing in a truck stop in Texas. Like, early ZZ Top, you could just imagine them playing live in any venue and just say, man, I would go see that band in a heartbeat. This is a totally different, but it succeeded. I mean, I just think it's a great album.
That's great.
And they also
I
played
think
this tour in Bismarck.
that's it. Let me see.
Oh, they had the giant Sphinx,
This
I think, on the
what's
stage.
does this got? Oh no, I think that's Eliminator.
Sleeping Bag was the
Sleeping Bag.
was
but
the big one. The
Eliminator's
intro.
got. I got the 6. You be the 9.
Yeah,
Oh,
Classic.
classic track.
yes. Sleeping Bag was, I think, the first single. Stages was huge. Rough Boy charted. I mean, I think a lot of these
There's a lot
charted.
of songs off there.
But yeah, there isn't a bad track on this album. I mean, I think they just absolutely nailed it. Different sound for them, but they came off not sounding cliche and overproduced with this album. So it's a success story, is why I picked it.
So what were the questions?
Oh, I don't know. That's another window. Let me tab over here. Since we've already moved on from this, okay. So, Ricky says, "What has more lasting impression in your collections, soundtracks or live albums?"
Oh, Mike, they
Mike,
hit you on
you-
this one.
Or compilations, please. Which one of those three would you occupy more space in your collection,
In
Michael?
my collection, with a select few, they could all be probably in the never listen to again bin.
You hit a sore spot for Mike. He hates compilation albums.
There's very few soundtracks. I'm gonna throw soundtracks are a little bit different to some extent.
Because it's
In a
different artists.
It's not, but it's connected to the movie. So maybe it was like I mentioned, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right.
Yep.
Now that soundtrack itself, there's not a lot of popular artists on it. I think.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World, yes.
I
Wayne's
think,
World, I
I
was
think
gonna go there.
Extreme is probably the most popular band
On
that soundtrack.
Foxy.
But it ties to the movie, which is one of my favorite movies.
It
So
taps
you
into
prob-
the garage band ethos
you-
of Bill and
You
Ted.
probably, maybe that's more of a, but live albums, you guys can have them.
And I will. I'll take live albums all the time over soundtracks.
Frampton Comes Alive and Delicate Sound of Thunder. And, Jay Giles always sound like they're having a blast live. But other than that, I'm with you, Mike.
Well, for my Elvis collection, I'd probably say it'd be 25% of my collection because a large part of Elvis's '60s work is all soundtracks. So I got Kissing Cousins, which you mentioned earlier,
But those,
on soundtracks.
but those were they were soundtracks, but they were albums.
Yeah, and what
They
because
were-
what
they were
Elvis
made
would
as
do
albums.
is to fulfill his contractual needs. He would literally just he wasn't recording anymore, and so we lose 25% of Elvis's career here, and maybe even up to a third, because of these horrible soundtracks that he's doing. And he's just like, well, we're gonna just fill this out to fill the need. Here's here's my 2-3 albums because I did 3 movies this year, and that was it. And then of course then he has a large selection of live albums that he's doing as well. So that could take out, and of course a ton of my collection of Elvis's compilations, which you just showed one. I've got
That's not a
30 compilation
He
albums.
recorded that album in one session.
He did not.
The
But back to the live albums. One thing, especially the mainstream and the really popular ones, it's questionable on what's live on them and what's not.
Yep.
So, and then I question the legitimacy of them. But
I recently found out.
I get accustomed to listening to the studio albums. I like that. I like the studio version. I can't get into a live version because this is the version I like.
I agree. I'm with Mike on that one.
Well,
don't
I
get
just
into
saw
live
a
much.
clip of Journey's. Steve Perry is singing "Open Arms," and one of the big hooks for Steve Perry and Journey is the intonation, the open arm. You know how he does, and he totally doesn't do that, and everybody along is waiting for him to hit that note that way, and it's like, well, that was kind of lazy. I don't know.
I think if I want to listen to live music, I'll go and see a live artist. It's like I don't really like. I don't know. I don't need the live music feel in my basement. Like I don't know. I like going to see live musicians. So
Okay, well, what about watching a video recording of a concert?
seeing it like
Live without a net.
that's
Live
different.
without a net. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is
What
live
did he
without a
say?
net.
Live without a net.
Van Halen.
And see, I'd be more willing to do that too than
The Aloha
probably
from
like
Hawaii.
put
Yeah.
on a live album because
I
you
would
get the
too.
visuals
I'd watch
with
a video.
it, right? It's more of a full. It's
Connection.
almost more of a movie
It's
than
an experience.
than just like listening to it. Because
Yeah.
like Mike said, like you get used to your studio recordings where it's like
Yep.
this guitar solo does this, and I like this part of it, and sometimes they tweak that when
Well,
it's
U2's Elevation Tour, which is available on DVD right below us.
3 copies.
On that DVD, they have multiple angles because that was a feature of DVD that very few people ever utilized. But what you could do, and since I'm a live TV guy, you could cut between. I believe there were two. I think there were 2 angles. There's the main angle, and then there was an alternate. And then I think on that one, you could cut to Bono had a camera in his glasses, and you could view the stage. But then for me, you could go to the video control room, and you could watch the director calling shots and the technical director changing and stuff. So I'm geeking out on that because like that's where I'm usually at, and I'm watching how they switch the show. Kind of a cool deal, but that's way different than just throwing on a live album and listening to it.
Brad, your opinion on this? You're the only one who
I,
thinks it.
I think I would favor soundtrack recordings if I had to. But then there are some. There are exceptions. There are some live albums that go beyond and impress me, but there are not many of them, and it's just they just somehow don't. It's like you had to be there or something. And what was created in the studio doesn't always transcend to the stage. Unfortunately, sometimes it does, and when it does, I think it's real magical. But
my thing with a lot of greatest hits compilations, I don't want to hear the greatest hits. I've heard the greatest hits. They've been played on the radio to death for my entire life. So I don't want to go and listen to the Guns N' Roses greatest hits because I've heard all those songs 1,000 times. Like there's just no desire for me to do that.
That makes sense. What were you gonna say, Josh?
The one that I have to jump on the live. I'm a live record guy. Even though that they're touched up, everything's touched up, everything's polished. I like hearing live albums because in the studio there's way more control. There's way more ability to fix things. If you can reproduce that even somewhere close live, then you've got something special. And yeah, they can be polished up. I mean, Kiss Alive is practically all re-recorded, but that's the exception, not the rule. The Foo Fighters just released on Bandcamp a live, their 30th anniversary tour is going on, or starting, or will be starting. They just did 5 pop-up shows across the country on the East Coast and the West Coast, and they put one song from each of those shows on Bandcamp for free. So go listen to some live Foo Fighters music, and that energy, it's like you're in the room. That energy comes through. So if live albums are done well, I think that energy, you can pick up that energy.
Agreed. The only bootleg I've ever made, and I use that term loosely, was of a live stream of a U2 live in Dublin. And the only reason I quote unquote call it a bootleg is because at the time what I did was kind of a technological feat. It wasn't, everything wasn't being live streamed. I actually did it at work, and that was a really awesome live performance. But it was also a little bit of a touchdown dance for me because I couldn't believe I pulled it off. And I can say
One of my favorite live albums was recorded on this phone last year from a balcony. Hit record and watch, and then just downloaded it. Still listen to it to this day.
Nice. My favorite, my 2 favorite Elvis live takes would be the NBC special, and because of exactly what we're talking about, the emotion of the moments. He's coming back his first time on stage, and then he really got himself in shape and really got set up for the Aloha from Hawaii, where he presented across the whole world. And so those 2 are great live albums that I love of Elvis, but. We got to probably get into the end here. What is the other question?
the other one was, there were some suggestions. Singles had a good soundtrack. OC had a good soundtrack. I just looked. I have close to 50 soundtracks in my collection. Some of them are scores, some of them are soundtracks. But I just go back to, if you have somebody that's actually curating a soundtrack, like a John Hughes or a Michael Mann or somebody, you can have yourself an amazing soundtrack. If some studio puke is just slapping stuff together for whatever reason, probably a dog.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
There you go.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
Guardians
1
hey.
and 2.
Oh,
Amazing.
My kids, now 17 and 18, when they first came to me with their iPods and asked me to put music on, thankfully they didn't ask for any crap. It was all good classic rock stuff. And I would say for kids in that age group, the Guardians of the Galaxy was an enormous influence on those
Good
kids.
intro. Good
Yes.
intro into a lot of those bands. And it's like,
Seriously.
you like Mr. Blue Sky? Well, check out the rest of the discography because all their songs kick
Any other
ass.
comments, Clint?
That is it for comments. We probably better talk about the coupon.
yeah. Hey, let's draw a name real quick. You get $10 off.
was.
Oh, the coupon first. This is from the coupon book. Find your Prairie Finder. That just came out in the last week or 2. If you haven't thrown it away yet, dig in there. You'll find these various coupons in there. Some of these are coming in right now. We got a lot of great coupons in here coming to the store. Right, those are the hours you'll see on there as well. We had a great weekend this weekend. People came in and got some great deals. And besides that, then we got a name we're gonna draw. If we call your name here, make sure to sign up when you come in to the store. You get $10 off on your next purchase. Michael?
Steve Churchman?
Yeah, it looks like Steve Churchill. I think you're right the first time.
So you get $10 off. Come in the store. Just mention it.
Congratulations.
And with that, I think we're at about time. We had a lot of different takes from tonight because we had a very different take of an album. So thank you, Clint. Kenny is back on board next time. I've already got my leads.
Man, can't wait.
Which Elvis is it?
Actually, I didn't do Elvis last time.
Did not.
I'm not going to do Elvis again this time. I already know what it is, but
I know what it's
Do
gonna
you
be.
already own it, or did you?
I already own it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually in the stack over
I
here
know
as
what
well.
it's going to be. It's Randy Matthews.
Nope.
You already told us.
No, no. I was thinking about
Bobby
doing
O.
a Christian one, but no. Actually, I will tell everybody if you want to listen to it. Actually, I'll give you a clue. It's a jazz album. I'm going to go jazz.
Not jazz.
Yes. So that's it.
Well,
Otherwise,
the video guy always finds out early because I have to make the graphics. So
hey, and remember this.
Unless we hold out on you.
As we say in his Miami Vice album, right? I love about music and more, right? In every record, there's a story to be told.
oh boy, is this where we cue the jingle?
Yes, it is. Cue the.
Kenny's music and more, a place like no other. With records and cassettes, he's a music lover. Blues, rock, country, and more to explore. 10,000 vinyls and memorabilia galore. Come on down to the shop, there's something for all. Step into the world of music and more, where melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. At Kenny's Music and More, you'll have a ball. A teacher and a DJ with a passion so deep. Kenny knows every lyric even in his sleep. His collection is unique, a treasure trove. In Bismarck, Indy, it's the place to just rove. In every record there's a story to be told. Into the world of music and more, where melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. At Kenny's Music and More, you'll have a ball. You'll have a ball. In every record there's a story to be told. Step into the world of music and more. Music and melodies and memories are in store.